are live on Instagram. I think we're good on Substack. Yep, there we are. We're good everywhere else except Kick, which will not live again for some reason. I don't get it. I don't understand. What's your problem? What the heck? You do. All right. All right. Almost there. Oh, it's back. Good to see you. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's Hal Sparks, Megaworldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Sorry I'm late. I just got back from having an IV drip, which is why I have a bandage in my arm. I'm fine. It's proactive. And as I'm coming in, the specialty cat food that we have to get for the 5 cats to make sure that they don't have itchy skin or whatever, I don't know what the deal is. So Summer orders it. Showed up on the porch and it's frozen, so it has to be put away immediately or we will get septic kitties, and that shall not be done. I'm sorry. I will not allow it. So here I am. And then let's see. Let me bring in the chat room, who is awesome. And my buttons are back to working. Oh, and apparently my camera's all faded out further. And what's good to see? How you doing? All right. I feel like I should just run it. I don't know if I feel like Terry Jones, buck naked, going or Eric Idle. Isn't it awfully nice to have a penis? Hold on. I'll wrangle the. Open up, you silly thing. Yeah, there we go. Let's hop into B. Oop, there we go. That's a little better. Yeah, so I do have a music little setup or whatever that I'm working on trying to integrate into the show, but it means yet another piece of software open during the show, and god damn it, I have a lot of stuff. Yes, Nikki, I did. It has not arrived at my home yet, but it has arrived at the mailbox and is being forwarded, so I will have a proper unveiling very soon. Anyway, so, and then dun dun dun, or dun dun dun. Sorry. All right, we'll go back out to here. I need to set up buttons for that as well. Okay, first of all, I don't know if you know this, but Republicans run everything, but it's Democrats' fault that they can't keep the government open. Because I don't know if you know, they had a mandate and won everything last time, and yet somehow don't have control of the government entirely. And so much so that they can't even swear in a newly elected Democrat for fear that that person will join the people who are voting to release the Epstein files. And that would, of course, ruin Donald Trump's week even further than it already has. But in the meantime, it has not stopped the Republicans from putting out an ad that explains directly, apparently this is a minute long, why Democrats are shutting down the government. It's because we want desperately to make sure that non-citizens get health care. That's the most important priority. $1.5 trillion worth of free health care. That's the goal. I mean, we've all signed on for it. So let's see if I mean, I don't think you guys need convincing. I certainly don't, but let's see what they have to say.
Democrats, the party of open borders.
In a world where footage from when Donald Trump was president last time passes for reasons to hate Democrats.
Transgender for everybody.
Are we just mailing out little dick guillotines? Is that the theory? Is that the DNC is just forgoing supporting candidates and they're just mailing out dick guillotines to everybody? Is that what we mean? Transgender for everybody. Which, by the way, he thinks that's what transhumanism is, and Peter Thiel agrees with him. That's literally Peter Thiel, who's J.D. Vance's handler. That's his idea. So just you know, transgender for everybody, and you get your dick cut off, and you get your dick cut off, and you get to dress however you want. You get to dress however you want. Like, what the fuck?
Lawlessness in our streets are shutting down the government in an effort.
Again, did they film this in 2020?
To appease the radical left, these Democrats are coordinating their strategy with outside leftist groups.
Yes, they're doing it right from inside Congress.
And are demanding nearly $1.5 trillion in spending for an agenda that includes...
Sorry, is this footage that Mnuchin's wife took on her iPhone when they fucked on top of the gold at Fort Knox?
Healthcare for illegal aliens.
I don't speak Spanish. Where does it hurt? Just point and say, ay, ay, ay. Wouldn't it, I mean, I look, okay, obviously they're short on footage, and we're supposed to take this very seriously. Obviously, you know, when your stock footage is limited and you're on a time crunch, obviously, the idea of finding some, you know, racist image of a guy in a sombrero laying on a gurney with a bullet hole while a small, beautiful white child is coughing into a rag on the next table and everyone's ignoring them. And, you know, kind of a cinematic cutting across shot or whatever, where the doctor goes, "I'm sorry, my hands are tied by the radical left." It's, you know, you don't have time for that. So just healthcare for illegal aliens. And then I guess we're all the illegal alien. Is that the idea? It's no fun being an illegal alien.
And much.
Are they gassing us, or is that supposed to be scary?
Much.
And much, much more. What do we have for them, Johnny? And much, much more. It's Government Shutdown, the game show.
More. Democrats for years have railed against government shutdowns, claiming a shutdown would mean much chaos and pain and needless heartache for the American people. Democrats are out of control, and you know who it hurts?
You, everyday people, and the most vulnerable, seniors.
Damn.
Veterans, working families, hungry kids, y'all.
Tell Congress to avoid the Democrat-led government shutdown.
Well, it's too late, I guess. This came out 5 hours ago. I guess you should have released it. What do you think, last Wednesday, everybody? I mean, it's not even, I mean, with or without a shut. Does the government shutdown make transgender for everybody, or does it stop transgender for everybody? I'm very confused. Also, why is the White House off center in the image? I'm Donald Trump, and I confuse this message. Yep.
Democrat.
Magic. Well, I feel like we've all learned our lesson. I don't know that I'll see it in theaters. Government shutdown 2. This time it's atrocious. I don't know. I think it's actually 14. This would be like in the Jason X category of sequels. But I think I'll wait till it comes out on Laserdisc. Now, there's a less dramatic version of this, of course, where they send out a Keebler elf to explain to all of us how Democrats bad for shutting down government when we all are just trying to do nicey nice. I think that's the general message.
And thank you so much for being here, Mr. Speaker. Do you believe the government is going to shut down in 3?
I just know that if I sit any closer to you, it'll set off my porn alarm, and then a small net will appear over me. You're a very attractive lady.
Hours from now?
I think it is inevitable now. It's a very reckless decision that Chuck
Reckless decision
Schumer has made. The Democrats have taken the last vote. Within the last few hours, they voted it down once again. And so...
Sorry, they voted it down. So you don't have the votes? You don't have a massive mandate? Wasn't I... Am I mistaken? No, I thought massive mandate. Like Trump won all 7 swing states. There's no question of who has the power. And all the states, he won all the swing states. I don't even know how they could even afford, if there's obviously this mandate, even Democrats would be afraid not to vote with him because the entire, 98% of the public is for what Donald Trump wants, according to him. So why would, I guess, Democrats just have they're just being self-destructive.
There's no other option. Now, it's important to note what they're doing here. They're throwing a fit. They're
I'm sorry, I was just overwhelmed by his charisma.
making partisan arguments. The House did its job. We sent to the Senate a clean CR. What that means, it's a very short stopgap funding measure so that the appropriators in Congress in both parties can continue their work of doing the appropriations bills, 12 separate bills. We've made a lot of progress in that. We just
apparently not
need a little more time because
you're ineffective and stupid, and you already sent a bill up to the Senate with what you had.
Tonight is the end of the fiscal year. Chuck Schumer has refused to give the extra time. Why? Because we won't agree to restore health care to illegal aliens. Because
that's it. That's the one thing. Yeah, Democrats, that's our big drawing line. That's the only thing. If Democrats would drop that one thing, that would be it. That's it. Just anybody who comes into the country gets free health care. That's more important than anything. School lunches, infrastructure, all that kind of stuff. And it's got to be the hang up. That's the one thing. Clearly, there is nothing else in that $1.5 trillion addition that restores health care for, say, citizens across the board. And in it includes investing in Medicaid in areas where the law says that if somebody comes in, they need to be treated. And so you've got to do that whether they have, citizenship paperwork or not in those moments. And so unless you want to write a law that scoops that out and still reinvigorates all the Medicaid cuts that you guys are implementing, then I guess it's technically not the Democrats' fault in this situation, maybe?
we won't agree to give $500 million back to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
No? So you're shutting the government down over $500 million. Let me get this. So, sorry, $1.5 trillion. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting, $500 million. You're shutting down the government over $500 million. How much is the illegal immigrant funding cost? How much is that of Medicaid, Medicare, the ACA, whatever the other health funding that's in there? What's the percentage? 1/8 of a percentage point?
He wants to cut the big fund of $50 billion that we set aside to support and prop up rural hospitals in America because we won't agree to those partisan demands.
Yeah, he wants to cut that because restoring the Medicaid funding would make it unnecessary. Put back the funding that was there, and then you don't have to scoop out extra special funding for all those bootstrapping red states who stand on their own and are sick and tired of the blood-sucking blue states stealing from them.
$1.5 trillion in new spending on a 7-week stopgap funding measure. He's decided to shut the government down. It's real pain for real Americans, and it's so frustrating.
I heard you make that first point at the White House yesterday after the meeting y'all had with the president and with Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries.
Y'all? Is she code switching? I'm for it.
people, as you know, people who are here in the United States legally have never been eligible for the Obamacare subsidies, for Medicare, for Medicaid. So what exactly are you saying that they're trying to do when you talk about giving free health care to them?
I'm so glad you asked. Okay, so when we passed the One Big Beautiful Bill, the Working Families Tax Cut, we had Medicaid reforms in the bill. You and I talked about it on the air. What we did was to eliminate fraud, waste, and abuse. There were a lot of people on the program who were enrolled in the program who were never eligible to be there. Medicaid is intended for eligible U.S. citizens, not illegal aliens.
Right, and that would still be the case if you put funding back in for it.
Not also U.S. citizens who are able-bodied workers, like young men. So we passed the law. The president signed it into law.
Sorry, young women aren't able-bodied? Maybe they are. He just can't say so because it'll set off as a porn app.
Democrats voted against it, of course, and it's been wildly successful. The CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, which is the neutral arbiter of all these things, released a report a few weeks ago, earlier this month, and they said, you know what? The bill has had its intended purpose. Premiums are coming down, listen, because 2.3 million ineligible enrollees have been kicked off of Medicaid, which helps to save the program, prop it up. And $185 billion has been saved already in fraud, waste, and abuse.
So basically, what you did was narrow the eligibility for certain people to get access to the ACA subsidies. What they want to do is undo the changes that Republicans made in that. But basically, wouldn't that only affect people who do have legal status, people who are refugee seekers here in the United States, asylum seekers here?
Those are two totally different issues. Now, they've created this as a new argument that they have as to why they should not keep the government open, but they're arguing a December policy debate for a September funding issue. The subsidies that you're talking about don't expire until the end of December.
No. Those are the subsidies for just everyday Americans. That's one thing that obviously has been the main premise of their argument. But you're saying they want to give free health care to people who are in the United States illegally.
That is exactly what the effect will be.
But when I looked at it, there's a little nuance because they want to undo changes that y'all made, narrowing who is eligible to get that. Those are people who are refugee seekers, asylum seekers. They're not technically people who are here illegally, just cross the border.
No, this is exactly what will happen. And Maxine Waters admitted, I think accidentally today on the House steps, they want to give health care to everybody.
But Maxine Waters is not in charge. She's not the one. She didn't write this proposal.
She's one of the senior leaders in the House.
That Democrats
and everybody should Google it.
By the way, I'd just like to point out real quick that this guy's one of these dipshits that wears a cross on the regular and claims to be a Christian. And he is lying about the Democratic position to manipulate the electorate, to position them as terrible, as to not trying to actually help people, Americans in need, and asylum seekers and people with who are here as refugees, whether it's like from Afghanistan or anywhere else that helped us, say, during the Afghanistan war. He wants to make those people, he's classifying those people as illegal for the purposes of his argument, which is a lie.
Read their counter proposal.
But you see
yourself.
my point, right? You're making this argument that they want to just give health care to everyone who's here illegally. This is not for people who cross the border and don't have paperwork. These are people who have temporary protected status, right?
No, absolutely. What will happen if that counter proposal was enacted is illegal aliens would be paid for. American taxpayers, hard-earned dollars, would be paying for benefits for illegal aliens again. We're not doing that.
But it's against federal law for people who are here illegally to get
Yes,
health
and that's
care.
why our reforms are so important to enforce all that. What the important thing to remember is...
Yeah. Again, she's having the same issue I think I'm having with this whole thing, but that it's what's the phrase I'm looking for?
This is some bullshit.
That's what it was. Yeah.
We see through it.
Yeah. This is just what I like to call it bearing false witness, and you can't be a Christian and do that.
That's not how it works.
So, here we go. Whoops. Get out of here.
See that the Democratic proposal that people who are here illegally
No,
should get
because
healthcare.
they don't have the level of specification that we had in our bill. It will unwind that, and all those things that the CBO just verified will be reversed. We can't afford to do that.
But you
The
see my
program
point,
has
that
been-
there's
No, I
nuance
don't
in
see
the
your
argument
point.
that you're
No.
making, right?
No, that is a red herring in this debate. What they've decided to do tonight.
What he's saying is that if you put back the funding to protect refugees and asylum seekers, that there will be people who will cheat. Those people were cheaters no matter what the law is, and the enforcement on it would not be changed. It doesn't make something that was previously illegal legal. It doesn't do that. It couldn't possibly. As a matter of fact, like I'm certain, I haven't read their proposal, but I'm certain that it has the kind of boilerplate, like this doesn't seek to undo any laws or create any new laws. This simply returns us to the availability to U.S. citizens and those people who are, who are legally have a right to these services.
Their vote is to close the government. And what that means, everybody needs to understand, real pain for real Americans. What does that mean? It means women, infants, and children do not get their nutrition programs. That is not funded anymore. Veterans don't get their health care services, suicide prevention, and other very important things that are very timely. You have low-income persons who are Medicaid, Medicare recipients.
Are you guys enjoying watching him pretend to give a shit? Like, because we'll go to this when you realize that all of those programs he's talking about are cut, by and large, in the big BS bill, and that they are always trying to weed those things out. Mike Lee wants to get rid of Social Security entirely. They think Medicare and Medicaid are for useless eaters. So again, crocodile tears.
Who are receiving care at home. Those programs are now lapsed. They will not be funded.
Yeah, you're making a point about what happens if the government shuts
That's
down.
right, and they just decided to do it.
Making a point about what happens if the government shuts down.
That's right, and they just decided to do it. So the only question tonight is, how long will
Did that just loop, or is it just me?
Chuck Schumer keep the government closed? It's a dangerous gambit. It's something that he himself said his entire political career would be dangerous and disastrous. Roll the tape. We're rolling the greatest hits on our social media.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah, but there's also a difference between being concerned with the temporary lapse in those services, which is what this asshole is pretending to care about, and permanent lapse in those services, which is what he's trying to implement. The difference with the Democrats is that they are being forced into a position where they have to use a temporary lapse in those services to protect the permanence of those services.
The point about giving people who are here illegally health care is not exactly what is in their proposal.
No, it is 100% what their
immigrants
proposal.
who have legal status, and
No,
you're just
Caitlin, you're
disagreeing
wrong.
on who's eligible. I
I'm
looked
not.
at it, actually, because I was curious about your argument yesterday.
You should study the CBO's analysis that they just put out a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I saw
and
that
you
about the 1.2 million people. You're basically arguing about who has legal status, people who are seeking refuge here or
I'm
seeking
not.
asylum.
No, I'm making sure that we are making sure in our provisions that we signed into law have ensured that health care benefits go only to eligible U.S. citizens.
Right,
Chuck
as
Schumer's
is federal
proposal.
law.
Federal law was not being enforced. That's the whole point. We had to fine-tune that so that we could strengthen the health care program. That's what we did.
On this premise of how long this shutdown could go on, the longest one was 35 days. You were a member then, you were not the House Speaker then. How long do you believe this could go on?
I hope it's very short because real Americans are going to suffer. It's going to be a hardship for a lot of people.
You wish.
And Chuck Schumer holds all the cards because all he has to do is do what he's done, by the way, 13 times during the previous 4 years of the Biden administration. 13.
Yeah, because you assholes were trying to shut shit down, and they wanted stuff to roll forward because they had a budget based on Biden's priorities, and the programs left over, by the way, from the last year of Trump in terms of COVID to continue, which, this is like, half of the ones that they're talking about is Republicans trying to shut down vaccine programs and shit like that.
Times we avoided a shutdown. We were in the minority party many of those times. We voted and did the responsible right thing to keep the government open. We're asking Chuck Schumer to do the same thing he did his entire career. He's been here half my life. This is the first time ever he's wanted to shut it down, and I'll tell you why. Because Chuck Schumer is in a political fight. He's fighting for his political life. The last time he did the responsible thing, the far left came after him. AOC is going to challenge him.
Yeah,
in the
he was
Senate race.
criticized by a lot of his own members. Yeah. You're talking about how painful a government shutdown today could be. Today, the president said that he thinks some good things could come from a government shutdown. What are the good things that would come from a shutdown?
Well, the administration has to make some very tough choices. They have to determine at the Office of Management and Budget what are essential services, what are the programs that should be prioritized, personnel decisions, policy decisions. Chuck Schumer has just given the White House unilateral authority to make those permanent decisions about programs that should survive and those that should be eliminated. So he's sort of walked into a political trap on that as well.
By the way, if you guys will recall, this is exactly why it was a good thing that he had a continuing CR earlier this year. That's why I brought that up, because Trump is going to do what he was going to do earlier this year, The difference, though, is because there's a lot more stuff entrenched, both because of the big BS bill, which includes like the child tax credit and other stuff that were actually giveaways to Democrats, even though no Democrat ended up voting for it because they were trying to win them over and they were trying not to lose purple seats.
The president framed it as a good thing that could come out of this. You're saying it's a tough choice. That's not how he
No,
described
it's
it
both.
today.
There are good things that could come out of it. If you eliminate wasteful programs that we otherwise would not get Democrat votes to do, that's a very good thing for the taxpayers. But the harm that comes is from the people who need food assistance, medical assistance. FEMA won't be funded, by the way. We're in the middle of our hurricane season. If your health insurance or your flood insurance is lapsed, no new policies, no renewals, none of that can happen during a shutdown. It's real danger for real people. This is not a game.
Yeah, well, the president has previously talked about eliminating FEMA potentially before this shutdown happened. But can I ask
He
you in
wants to
terms
reform
of
FEMA.
you're
Okay.
talking about the president
Yeah, reform it out of existence.
could pick programs that they would basically stop, right, if this shutdown commences. Has a president ever, during a government shutdown, eliminated programs just because there was a government shutdown?
I'd have to go study the history of it, but I'll tell you that government's never
No.
been so big and bloated as it is today. It's completely it's too large. It does too many things, and it does almost nothing well. There's
Well, maybe it's the personnel, asshole. It does almost nothing well. Fish stinks from the head, man.
a lot
does
of
he have the
reform-minded
It's like when Marjorie Taylor Greene is like, Washington sucks. And you're like, yeah, since you showed up, dummy.
Do
people
that?
in the administration who would like to streamline government. So would conservatives. So would all of us. Not in a way
Streamline. We'll get to that later.
that disenfranchises or hurts anybody, but in a way that makes government work more efficiently and effectively for the people. That's what our legislation has done. That's what the big beautiful bill was about, and we'd love to continue that theme. And if Chuck Schumer wants to keep the government shut down and give the White House full authority to do that, some good things may come out of that, indeed.
As a constitutional lawyer, do you think you would be okay if a government shutdown happened under President Biden and he canceled programs unilaterally because of it?
We didn't allow that to happen because I'm more responsible than that. When the Republicans were in the minority, we delivered the votes to keep the government open because we don't want to hurt the American people. Chuck Schumer has made the decision unilaterally. He's the leader of the Democrats in the Senate to keep the government shut down for his own personal reasons. It is extremely selfish and stunning to me that he is willing to do that.
Yes, this isn't even the Democrats doing this. This is Chuck Schumer doing this by himself.
No way out of the trap. We didn't put partisan provisions in the CR. We could have. I could have loaded that up with all of our partisan policy preferences, but I
No, you couldn't, or it wouldn't be a CR.
didn't because we're
You wouldn't be continuing a resolution.
operating in good faith. The reason we need, again, just the short-term extension to November 21st is to allow the appropriators to do their job. They need more time to do it in a bipartisan fashion, by the way. They agreed, Republicans and Democrats agreed, November 21st would be the appropriate date to extend it. That's all we're asking for is time.
And are they just using their leverage like
That was a weird cut. Hold on.
Appropriate date to extend it. That's all we're asking for is time.
are they just
Did Forbes cut something out that they didn't like, or was there a jump in CNN's
using their
coverage?
leverage like a position that he once held?
Well, unfortunately for Chuck Schumer, he doesn't have willing partners on the other side. There's no game to play here. The White House, the president, the vice president, we were all in the Oval Office together yesterday. Leader Thune, the Republican leadership in the Senate and the House and the White House are completely unified on this. There's no daylight between us. We want to keep the government open to serve the people. Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have decided to close it. We'll see
Yeah, 8 people, all of them billionaires.
how long this standoff continues, but it's real people that get harmed in the process.
Leader Thune said
Yes, again, this drives me crazy that all of a sudden their wailing and gnashing of teeth comes in defense of programs that help the poor. The programs, by the way, all designed and maintained by Democrats. Every single one of them, including the advancements at the VA. Take a look at the VA Choice Act of 2014 that Trump continues to say that he, I guess, truth socialed out himself.
earlier today that he's not going to negotiate until the government is back open. Is that your position as well with Hakeem Jeffries?
Yeah, look, there's plenty of time to debate these policy issues and extraneous matters, but you have to have the government open first. It's the first most important responsibility of Congress to keep the government operating for the people.
Yeah, then why couldn't you do it? I mean, if you're going to hold out on those a couple of points, whoops.
And the Democrats have decided not to do that.
But so is that your position, that unless the government is open, that you're not going to go negotiate with them either?
Yes, there's nothing to negotiate.
Apparently there is. What would it take for you guys to sign on to a CR? What promises do you give? What leverage can they have to guarantee that there is something in the negotiations that you will take them seriously, so we're not back in this situation right before Christmas? So you try to use that as leverage and then pack up your shit and go home from Thanksgiving to New Year's.
There literally is nothing I can pull out of the CR to make it better. It is a nonpartisan CR that they've already voted for. Chuck Schumer already voted for this exact measure in March and said at
Yeah, that's before the big bullshit bill made its cuts to Medicaid.
the time it was the right thing to do. The only thing that changed between now and then is he's in more political jeopardy.
Well, and they've
personally.
also argued because of the passage of the one big beautiful bill. But can I ask you?
Nonsense. Look at the facts.
That's the Democrats' argument. Can I ask you, earlier today, a Democrat came up to you, Congresswoman Madeline Dean from Pennsylvania, and basically she described it as confronting you over a post by the president last night of Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer after y'all's meeting at the White House. She was asking you if you believed it was racist and said that you should call it out. What is your description of what happened in that interaction?
So, as I always do, I'm the Speaker of the House, so I represent Republicans and Democrats in that capacity, and I always hear complaints and concerns from members, and I always stop and hear that. And
personally, where I couldn't actually hear what her complaint was over the laughter and the joyous fist pumps from the right about the fact that it was a racist post.
I did that for Madeline Dean. I respect her as an individual. We disagree on every policy matter. And she was concerned about a social media post of the president who he meant as a joke. And we talked about that. I told her I disagreed with her perspective on it. But I tried to bring her back to the real issue. The fight tonight is not about social media posts. The fight is about where they're going to keep the government open for the American people. And she's one that voted against that in the House. Quite literally 2 weeks ago when we pushed this measure through the House, the CR, the clean CR, she voted no. Every Democrat in the House except one voted no. They voted to close the government. And
yeah. To staunch the bleeding, effectively, of your Medicaid cuts before they could go into full force, specifically because of the damage it would do to rural hospitals, which the extra funds you put in there are targeted by Trump's buddies. Because I got news for you. A lot of the rural areas, the truly redneck areas that need the most help, aren't going to get the help.
I wanted my friend.
It's like any swing state area that might have a rural hospital. That's where that money is going.
Madeline to understand the importance of that. She herself had said many times in the past that closing the government would be dangerous for the people. And suddenly they've changed their tune, and I don't understand why.
One argument, she was arguing that it was a racist post. One argument that we've also seen from Democrats is that House Republicans should be here because House Democrats are here. Hakeem Jeffries has described it as they've been sent on vacation. Do you have any plans to bring them back anytime soon?
Of course, everybody will be back next week. We have the Jewish high holiday of Yom Kippur on Wednesday and Thursday. We were never intended or scheduled to be in session on those days. There's always on.
Yeah, but so far, I mean, there were days before the shutdown. You sent him home before the shutdown. That was the thing.
Holidays every year, so Friday would really be the only day to do any legislative business. But if the
well, hey, why not stay through the fucking weekend? You know, there's a lot of Americans out there that when the going gets tough, they stay at work. They, especially if they give a shit and it's their business.
Government shut down, there's not a big point. There's not a lot of floor activity that can be had until we open the government again. So the House has done its job. Everybody's home working in their districts right now. They'll be back next week, of course.
Working in their districts. For Republicans, that means avoiding town halls and not answering the phone.
And we'll see what happens. I'm very hopeful that over the next few days, the Democrats in the Senate will come to their senses. Leader Thune is going to put the bill on the floor repeatedly and give them more and more chances. You saw tonight, a couple of more Democrats peeled off. They don't want to be a part of this. They don't want to be blamed for the government shutdown. And I hope more of them come to their senses. I certainly hope and pray that that happens by early next week, and we can all get back to the people's business here. That's the plan.
House Speaker Mike Johnson, in your words, we will see what happens and if we're here next week.
Right.
And thank you.
I'm glad that video was as short as it was because I think we can only handle so much macho at one point. The other thing I want to point to, by the way, is that in the middle of all this, while this is still going on, there is a weird turn on the right that is still happening. I'll give you an example. This is a clip from Joe Pags, good old Joey Pags, over there on wherever the hell he's got his radio show over there. Joey Pags, not a journalist. This is the call out of Candace Owens. Candace Owens called out, "You're not a journalist. Show your receipts." And I guess he's coming to the defense of Macron's wife. Blood, witchcraft, and war. The idea that Charlie Kirk is dead because Jezebel cast a spell on him. And we've got the shaman cosplay Roseanne to deal with that. And then apparently hippie Alex Jones, Rusty Trombone, has decided to start giving a shit about immigrants now, I suppose. And then Jimmy Dore apparently thinks that we're going to war with Venezuela and we're going to be bombing the land direction. Now, the land directions where they're like the roads and I suppose trains perhaps as well or what have you, that they're shipping drugs in the United States, which was this is apparently, and I have to dive into this because I want to see. Also, this guy's mad, but Trump somehow looks like a hero. Like Venezuela war is happening. You notice this isn't negative. Like the imagery of this is that this is what Trump should be doing. Like if you were, and maybe this is just how they do clickbait over there. How you make sure maggots click on this stuff is, perhaps. But it says breaking: U.S. set to bomb inside Venezuela. We'll see what the source is.
Of course, they do it under the guise of fighting drugs when it's the United States that is addicted to a drug, and that drug is oil. And
well, then I guess we should have stuck with Joe Biden because oil production was going up at a very fast, manageable clip, and we didn't need Venezuelan oil. Apparently, we weren't addicted to Venezuelan oil till then, but we'll see.
That's what this is about. This is about.
It is. It's totally about. This is we're bombing. Those little fishing boats didn't have drugs in them, or they weren't even fishermen. These were mini oil tankers.
Oil, the number one drug that starts all the wars. New report: U.S. could start bombing Venezuela within a few weeks.
Could? I mean, I suppose under Trump, I'm surprised that we could. He is the peace president, is what Jimmy told us all last year, and he's going to be the guy that no new wars, right? Remember, that's what Jimmy was saying. That's what makes him different and special and good, and the messianic figure that we've all been looking forward to. But apparently, antiwar.com is suddenly of the opinion that Trump could start bombing countries. I don't know where he got that from, other than the fact that he said he would.
Sources told NBC News that the U.S.
Whoa, sorry, you're using antiwar.com as your clip, but their source and your source is NBC News. I don't know. That sounds like legacy media to me. I'm gonna have to call you out as being full of shit. You don't get to claim that new media and independent media and whatever the fuck his show is defined as these days is the premium source for the truth, and then cite NBC as your source for outrage.
Military officials are drawing up plans to target alleged drug traffickers inside the Venezuela.
Yes, I'm sure the drug they're trafficking is petroleum, and I'm sure all of those sites will be underneath oil rigs.
Of course, they say drug traffickers. They use that expression the same way the IDF uses the phrase terrorists. So when they say drug traffickers, they mean everybody everywhere inside Venezuela.
I see. So we're going to be strafe bombing Venezuela, just wiping out citizens. This is what he says Trump is going to do. Also, Jimmy is pro-Trump.
That's what they mean.
Also, that was supposed to be a joke, as opposed to a distinct analogy.
And just to let you know, even the New York Times, in paragraph 11, they told you the real reason that Donald Trump is ramping up this drug war with Venezuela. Even the New York Times. So they
on September 20th.
Spend 10 paragraphs parroting Donald Trump and the security state and the...
Dude, that describes all last year on the Jimmy Dore Show and most of this one.
The economic hitmen in the United States. And then in the 11th paragraph, they tell you the truth. Here's the truth. Several current and former military officials, diplomats, and intelligence officers say that while fighting drugs is the pretext for the recent U.S. attacks, the real goal is to drive Mr. Maduro from power one way or another. The massive naval flotilla off the coast of Venezuela and the movement of the fifth-generation F-35 fighters to Puerto Rico has little to do with actual drug interdiction. They represent operational overkill, said the former head of the Pentagon's Southern Command.
That should have been the first 2 paragraphs of the whole goddamn story.
That should have been.
Well, gee, I'd love to check and see what fucking story you're talking about, but we'll just take your word for it that it was the last thing they said and that nothing up to that point reflected that part of the story. Let's see. Okay, hold on. Back up. This is going to annoy me, isn't it? Okay. Well, if I enjoy... Okay. Fucking assholes. All right. I need... There we go. Pull up a paper. This is why we do. We'll do it live. Okay. New York Times. Let's see. While fighting drugs is the pretext for the recent attacks. FBI and Indiana State Police death threats. Oh, from Corey Amix. I'm okay. Or is he? Gotcha. I hope so. Okay, let's, I'm going to look and see if, military buildup in Caribbean signals broader. Yeah, okay, so this is the article. So okay. Let's, what was, where the fuck, okay, here we go. What's Jimmy's take on this? Okay, this is the 11th paragraph. Let's see, so, okay, yeah, so, let's see. What did he say? By the 10th paragraph? Hold on.
To Puerto Rico has little to do with actual drug interdiction. They represent operational overkill, said the former head of the Pentagon's Southern Command.
That should have been the first 2 paragraphs of the whole goddamn story.
That should have been the first, of course.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's see what the first 2 paragraphs are. Shall we? The U.S. military strikes this month on 3 boats that Trump administration officials have asserted were smuggling drugs in the Caribbean have cast a spotlight on the sizable naval armada and aerial fleet of spy aircraft the Pentagon has dispatched to the region in what it says is a counter-narcotics and counter-terrorism mission. Military officials, diplomats, and analysts say a main purpose of the force is to ratchet up pressure on Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, as top figures in the Trump administration call him an illegitimate leader and accuse him of directing the actions of criminal gangs and drug cartels. We're not going to have a cartel. Okay, this is that's basically what they say about the rest of it. This is the first 2 are what's happening. The response from the White House, I guess, is Marco Rubio. There's a reward offer. Heavy military presence in the Caribbean, including F-35 fighters in Puerto Rico, suggests the United States plan to do more than just blow up small vessels, analysts said, but the scope of the operation remains unclear. Manufacturers military might come next. Caroline Leavitt said recently the administration was prepared to use every element of American power to stop drugs from flooding in. And then he said if the United States believed the boat's passengers were drug traffickers, they should have been arrested. He accused the administration of trying to start a war. Shortly after the news conference, the U.S. military struck a second boat. The top of it is describing what happened. And then it gets to several current military and former officials said massive naval flotilla and F-35s, that part. These are the 2 that Jimmy showed right there. Like they were hiding it. They were burying the lead. The entire article is about this.
But it's not. It's the 11th and 12th.
Yeah, nobody reads past the 3rd anymore, honestly.
Rather, they are a clear signal to Nicolas Maduro that the administration is growing serious about accomplishing either regime or behavioral change from Caracas, said the admiral. Gunboat diplomacy is back, and it may well work. Mr. Rubio and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth have both said the military would carry out more strikes in the coming weeks as part of what they describe as a counter-narcotics and counterterrorism campaign. The military struck a third boat on Friday. So there it is. United States could start bombing Venezuela within a few weeks. The U.S. military could start bombing targets inside Venezuela, according to a report from NBC News that was published on Saturday.
Right. And so why aren't you using NBC's story? Okay, 1 second. NBC, U.S. could start bombing Venezuela, I guess. U.S. Okay, this is 4 days ago. There you go. Why not actually go to, other than you're a coward and you want to pretend that you're the only source of news, why cite NBC News and then watch them through another channel through antiwar.com, as if you won't just read directly, like antiwar.com has people down there or whatever. They're citing what they said. Just go to the original source. Trump has not approved any actions yet. The U.S. and Venezuela are talking through Middle Eastern intermediaries, sources told NBC News. They're drawing up options to target drug traffickers inside Venezuela. Strikes within the country's borders could potentially begin in a matter of weeks. Four sources told NBC News. Those sources are 2 U.S. officials familiar with the planning and 2 other sources familiar with the discussions. They spoke on the condition of anonymity because they're not authorized to discuss the plans publicly. Striking inside Venezuela would be another escalation in the Trump administration's military campaign against alleged drug cartels or drug targets and its stance towards Venezuela's government. Yeah, this is the boat that nobody knows what was in it or who was on it, where people were killed. Is there a issue with just quoting it directly?
Told NBC that the U.S. military officials were drawing up options for striking alleged drug traffickers inside Venezuela. CNN also previously reported that the Trump administration...
Yeah, man, that fucking legacy media is kicking ass, aren't they? Now you're citing 2 of them at once, you tit.
...was considering launching strikes inside Venezuela and was...
Weren't he and Kurt telling us, like, I don't know, 24 hours, when have they never, that legacy media, all it does is lie, it's propaganda for corporations or what have you, right? They don't tell you the truth. How do you know this is true? Maybe you're just being taught, they're tricking you into buying the new Bomb Venezuela playset.
Considering hitting targets with the goal of weakening Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. So none of this sounds like...
Oh, he's going to read one of Kurt's jokes again, isn't he? That's anytime he looks down at the desk.
So this is about oil, just so you know.
Why?
They've been trying to overthrow Venezuela for 25 years now.
They have. Oh, them. I forgot about them. Right, they have. Right. That's why, that's clearly why Biden parked ships off and Trump just left them there.
And it's because Venezuela has more oil than Saudi Arabia. And once you know that, everything else becomes clear.
We have more oil than Saudi Arabia. Almost everybody has more oil than Saudi Arabia. They're out.
And I can't believe how many people didn't read this in the New York Times.
Apparently you didn't read the beginning of the article at all. Because it basically leads up to it's a concise story that tells what's actually happening, and it's pretty informative, I gotta say.
When the New York Times is telling you that our government is trying to overthrow another government, not for the reason our government says.
Which is what the New York Times has said on multiple occasions about Iraq, Afghanistan.
You should believe them because...
Really? Now I should believe them? Now
they always lie to you. And
yeah, they always lie, but this time they're not because you like what they're saying in the 11th paragraph.
Tell you the opposite, which is what they did for most of the article.
No, they didn't. The rest of it isn't them telling you the opposite. That's actually the point where they're getting to the conclusion by the writer of the article. The rest of it just describes the details by which they are making that assessment. And who's giving them that assessment.
Well, Chavez got in by an election. This guy got in by an election. And I bet their election was free and fair because once you have an awful terrorist enemy, such as, I don't know, America against you, it probably gets the people behind the second guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Maduro staying in. Like you're absolutely right. I feel, I wish I could be I think it's great that the Jimmy Dore show is moving to Venezuela and is going to operate from there now, because they will feel safe and they'll feel protected in their freedoms and all that kind of stuff. And they're not going to do it from bad old America anymore. They're getting the fuck out because it's just not safe here to talk back against the regime.
Probably even like Maduro like that if it were not for this juggernaut coming down on them.
According to the numbers released by President Trump, 17 people have been extrajudicially executed by the United States. U.S. officials have told the New York Times that while combating drug trafficking was the pretext for the recent military action in the Caribbean, the ultimate goal is regime change in Venezuela. The policy is being driven by the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who has long sought to overthrow Maduro. Which is why...
Well, then why did he have any problem with Obama or Biden? If the big them, right, is controlling everything, why didn't Rubio offer to be, offer himself to be Secretary of State for any administration, since they're all on the team? They're all doing the same shit, right? Biden was clearly trying to overthrow Maduro his entire time in office. He was meaner towards Maduro than he was Trump. Wasn't he? No, he wasn't. Oh,
we were upset when he picked Marco Rubio as Secretary of State.
Oh, are you? That's what did it? You were upset when he picked Marco Rubio? Why? Because you thought he was going to pick somebody better? Like who? Marjorie Taylor Greene? Brian Glenn?
The NBC report said that some Trump administration officials were disappointed that the U.S. military escalations in the region had not impacted Maduro's grip on power or prompted any significant response.
Some? What do you mean some? First of all, it's them, they, all. The cabal that runs the world is just sock puppeting Trump anyway, so why would you be shocked or upset that he picked Marco Rubio when they, them, the pronoun evil inside the U.S. government that actually the deep state runs everything? So what difference does it make that Trump was elected at all? Why would you be shocked and upset that he picked Rubio? They probably are just using Epstein blackmail to force him to unseat Maduro, because that's been their goal, because oil.
Officials said that the White House...
This is so fucking lazy. He's wagging the dog over drugs because that appeals to the people who are reacting to the deaths caused by the fentanyl crisis and brown people. And he's using that to draw attention away from the Epstein files. The whole, like, Maduro, some sort of magic commie that if Big Bad America would just leave him alone, it would all work just fine. And that's why they're after him, is fucking stupid.
Has faced more pushback over bombing boats in the region than it expected.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Recent polling shows that the majority
Well, don't worry, Kurt, not from you guys.
of Americans are actually opposed to U.S. military use of force to carry out regime change. And so here it is. So if it says a majority of Americans oppose using military force to overthrow Maduro, so 53% strongly oppose it. Only 18% support it. 53%
Yeah, but that entire 18% is in the administration, I guess.
strongly oppose it. And then
The one in the gray. They
by-
went, huh?
by party,
Look at that. Democrats, it's almost as if Harris was in office, we wouldn't be fucking doing this. Look at him pointing at the Democrats. 67%.
67% of Democrats strongly oppose it.
Yeah, weird. It's funny. It's almost like there is a difference between the fucking parties and a difference between the fucking candidates. And Trump isn't some sort of like magic outsider who's gonna, turn, set freedom loose and stop all those foreign wars.
Only 8% of Democrats support it. Independents, 52% of independents strongly, and Republicans, 38% strongly oppose. But guess what? Only 34% support this.
Only? Yeah. What's Trump's base number? They don't give a shit about whether it's a good idea to force out Maduro or not. Trump wants it. He gets what he wants. That's the 34%. That's the absolute foundational bottom floor of Trump support.
So maybe a third of registered Republicans support this. 2/3 either strongly oppose it or they're.
Yeah, no. It's almost even thirds. Don't try to make it like the majority of Republicans are against it now, in line with the 60%. Look at the 67% of Democrats who are against it. Myself included, by the way. I wasn't in this poll, but I think, fuck that. That's ridiculous. And it should be, and I don't know, maybe chat room, I don't know. Chat room, anybody in there think that we should be doing regime change in South America anytime soon? I mean, we might have some maggots in the chat and some Jimmy dorks that, you know, that suck this dumbass's butthole on the occasion occasionally because they think he's a commie. Another millionaire Marxist living in the Hollywood Hills, shitting on America while nuzzling in its fucking bosom and giving the rest of the world the fucking finger. 67% of Democrats are strongly opposed. 24% don't know enough about it just to qualify whether it's a good idea or not. 8% against it. But he's trying to make it look like the 67% of Democrats that are against it and the 38% of Republicans who are against it, 34, and the 24% of Republicans that don't know enough about it equals the Democrats who are strongly opposed. That it's basically the same. That a third of Republicans don't think it's a good idea is basically the same as 2/3 of Democrats saying, fuck this. Again, myself included. Also sourcing the New York Times, you know, fuck me.
Not sure.
Yeah, not sure, right. Which, if you see how the line of the not sure and the totally against it is about the same margin of the Democrats that are totally against it, and he's like, it's basically the same. Like, it's a fucking wash, you know?
The not sure is the most disturbing part of this whole poll,
I know.
by the way.
I know. Most Americans would oppose invading Venezuela.
Most. Yeah, 74% of Democrats would oppose invading it. 63% of independents. Meanwhile, 48%, less than half of Republicans are against invading Venezuela right now. Wait a second. 52%, you want to use Jimmy math, 52% of Republicans either are for it or don't give a fuck if we invade Venezuela right now. And I guarantee if you push them and what Trump wants to, that fucking gray line would turn purple in a second.
62% of Americans oppose it. Only 16% support it.
Yeah, look at the balance of people who believe that. Democrats and independents are in single fucking digits. Who knocks it up into the double digits, asshat?
24% of Democrats oppose invading
Fuck you.
Venezuela. 9% support it. 63% of independents strongly or somewhat oppose invading Venezuela. 9% of independents support it. Republicans, 48% of Republicans strongly or somewhat oppose invading Venezuela.
Wow, they didn't break down the strongly or somewhat into two separate categories? Why? Because it'd be fucking embarrassing. It'd be even more embarrassing for Republicans. Be like a 2% fucking margin on the Democrats and independents, and it'd be like half. Like, I don't know, maybe it's not a good idea. I don't really give much of a shit. If Trump wants to do it, I mean, he's the fucking boss.
So that's an overwhelming plurality of Republicans oppose invading Venezuela. Only 31% of Republicans strongly support.
Only? Sorry, I misread that. 31 fucking percent? Wait, we're still in Trump base territory. 31%. Oh, man. Would oppose, okay, strongly, yeah, strongly or somewhat support.
Or somewhat support invading it.
Somewhat.
Okay.
Maybe it would be the Operation Somewhat.
A senior Democratic staffer is discouraging Democrats from coming out against. So this is
a senior Democrat staffer is discouraging Democrats from coming out against regime change in Venezuela. Congressional sources tell me the staffer is using the Bush-era Iraq, arguing that opposing Trump-Rubio's regime change amounts to supporting Maduro.
Yeah, Chavez tweets this out. So, of course, Democrats...
Oh, yes, Democrats. One Democratic staffer is discouraging Democrats from coming out against regime change in Venezuela, like making it part of the conversation.
Are not screaming about
Congressional sources tell you.
Trump doing this because they serve the same donors that want Trump to do this.
Oh, the oil people, right, sure. Yeah, Democrats all about oil. That's why they were going to do it during Biden, and that's why Harris was running on this idea too.
So this is all run by the economic hitmen in the United States, and they, through the deep state, which now...
That's right. So why are you shitting on Trump? He doesn't have a choice. He's just a puppet of the deep state like everybody else. What difference does it make who we vote for? What difference does it make who they put in office? Why are you pissed about Marco Rubio? Even Marco Rubio doesn't have a choice, right? The deep state is probably blackmailing him.
Trump serves. He doesn't fight anymore. He's doing their bidding, covering up stuff. And
yeah, he used to be so good when he was just a pussy-grabbing best friend of Jeffrey Epstein, tax-dodging, Medicaid undermining asshole. But the good old days.
Inflating their budgets and overthrowing countries. And he's still funding the Ukraine war.
Weird.
And so the Democrats are now discouraging, the senior Democrats are discouraging other Democrats.
Are they? Senior Democrats? I see the letter A at the beginning of that. A senior Democratic staffer is discouraging Democrats from coming out against regime change. So I guess they were planning to, or they are, or they're saying stuff.
From coming out against what Trump's doing in Venezuela. So it's the uniparty. No matter who you vote for, you get jobs.
There you go. It has to be that way. So otherwise you'd have to be responsible for helping Trump get in office.
McCain. It's a Democrat John McCain. It's a Republican John McCain.
Oh, you mean the guy that Trump said wasn't a hero because he got captured?
The staffer is using the Bush-era Iraq line, arguing that opposing Trump and...
The staffer. The, as in one? Sorry, in these days of they, them pronouns in the deep state, it's hard to tell whether we're talking about a singular person, which we are.
Rubio's regime change amounts to supporting Maduro. Regime change wars might be one of the only things that poll worse than the Democratic Party. So, of course, the Democrats are supporting it.
By the way, I support Maduro now. Fuck you.
Yeah, no, I do too.
Fuck you.
Also, can you show me the Democrats that are, I guess, supportive of Maduro or trying to come out to, like, everybody's against Trump's sending the Navy down there in the first fucking place.
John Jackson says, Venezuela already has the worst refugee crisis on the planet. It is the only one on the list which a war is not involved. What do you think happens when a half-assed Trump regime change military operation on top of this already dire situation? It explodes. So yeah, we've been sanctioning the hell out of Venezuela, trying to cause economic pain to those people so they would rise up. This is how you do it. This is how the United States economic hitmen do it. So they would...
By the way, that's John Bolton's plan you're talking about, the guy that Trump hired the first time.
Up. Then they fund the opposition with weapons and money to overthrow their government. So then we...
Sure. Show me the evidence that that's what's happening. So the Trump administration or the Democrats or the deep state or somebody, obviously AOC, let's she'll be a placeholder. AOC is arranging for guns to be sent to, rebel groups and freedom fighters and drug cartels down in Venezuela so that they can gin up violence there so that when we attack Maduro... I mean we, because obviously all Americans are on board with this because we all secretly voted for Trump like you did, Jimmy, right? That anybody who's dealing with anything else is in support of Trump bombing Venezuela because deep state. The fuck is this?
Install a puppet like Juan Guaido.
Oh,
so that's
nice
why
that we have our own Gaza to starve, isn't it?
That's right. So people are fleeing like crazy Venezuela. Where they come here. lots of them, because of our economic sanctions. And now we're going to start a war. Now we're going to try to overthrow their government to stay.
Are we? We are? We are. Sorry, we are? America needs oil that much? The Democrats have been pushing like renewables and electric cars this whole time, which would singularly remove the need for all external oil purchases if it was allowed to continue. You supported Donald Trump last year because men and women's sports and transgender for everybody bothered you, and immigrants something or other. And because of that, Democrats are trying to make oil more important so we can destabilize countries in South America to get a resource that we've been trying to not use anymore because deep state. And so all of a sudden, Democrats are more on the hook for Trump sending fucking ships to Venezuela to blow up boats in the middle of the water with no evidence of what they're doing there. And now Trump's going to bomb inside the country, but that's really because Democrats in the deep state are forcing him to, because reasons. How the fuck is this just not a natural attack on Trump doing something nobody else was doing on purpose? Like, if this is a deep state thing, why did he even have to move ships down there? Why haven't we constantly been like fomenting a physical war down there, a hot war during Obama, during Biden? Why does it all grind to a halt when a Democrat is in office and they fall back on sanctions against the regime for all kinds of shit that they're doing? And then when Trump comes in, sends warships down there, kills people, extrajudicially kills people, blows up fucking boats full of people, no evidence of what they're doing, no evidence of what they were carrying, calls them drug dealers and just murders them outright. Somehow that's because AOC and fucking Bernie and Kamala Harris and Joe Biden secretly want it, and Trump would rather not, but he can't because they've got him by the short and curlies.
The whole country even worse.
And we brought them here on purpose so that they would do that. So it would justify this moronic invasion of Venezuela.
So Democrats let Venezuelan refugees into the country during, I guess, the end of Obama. And then Trump ratchets it up during his time. At the end of his last act in office, the last thing that Trump does is give, let's see, Trump, last day in office, 2021, Venezuela. On his last day in office, he issued a memo, one of the last things, granting deferred enforced departure for certain Venezuelans living in the United States so they could stay. Without, by the way, being vetted. TPS, they have to go through a vetting process. DED doesn't. It just punts their actual hearing. Trump did that his last day in office in 2021. Last thing he did. So if there's a manufactured thing so that later on somebody else can attack Venezuela, apparently the main shot fired on that was Donald Trump in 2021. Do you think either one of these dumb sons of bitches has any idea about that? Let's see. 2021. There you go. So, according to Kurt, manufactured crisis, we let all these Venezuelans in just so that it would give us an excuse, because obviously Venezuelan people are like wind-up toys. They're going to kill somebody or be evil or whatever the fuck, according to Kurt. So it's just every Venezuelan that's in the country that escaped the regime and is living up here or came up here to get a job or protect their children or whatever the fuck they fled for, if they are seeking asylum, they're basically a time bomb waiting to go off. And the Democrats wanted it, even though Trump is the one who did this on his last day in office, so that he could create an excuse so because Americans will automatically grow to hate Venezuelans just naturally, even though they didn't until Trump came in and they were like, they're taking over, they're eating the dogs and shit like that. That was the Haitians, I think. But the Venezuelans, they're taking over towns in Colorado, right?
Why they were flooding you with, what is it? Tren de la Ragua, the gang you never heard of until it was convenient politically to hear about him?
Yep.
By Trump.
And
Tren de Aragua was another manufactured threat like MS-13 that Trump brought up. Sorry, I don't mean Trump. The deep state made Trump, obviously.
So, of course, they do it under the guise of fighting drugs when it's the United States that is addicted to a drug, and that drug is oil. And that's what this is about. This isn't about...
Well, then, if we're addicted to oil and the they-them deep state wants us to attack Venezuela over oil, then why were Democrats pushing for renewables and electric cars? Like, what wouldn't it be more financially viable to fight to not have to give a shit about the price of oil anymore?
Cocaine. This isn't about fentanyl or heroin. This is about oil.
Why? Why do we need oil from Venezuela? For real. I mean, maybe the idea is that the rest of the world needs it, but the price of oil, like taking over Venezuela and taking their oil like it's fucking Iraq 25 fucking years ago, the profit margin on it, if you did that, if you released Venezuelan oil onto the market, just flooded the market with it again, it would cadaver the oil markets everywhere. If anything, they don't want that oil on the seas, I guess.
The number one drug that starts all the wars.
I thought that was religion.
Okay, if you'd like to hear my jokes about Venezuela, I'll see you in Hermosa Beach, Sacramento, San Francisco.
Jesus, why would you even have jokes about Venezuela? Apparently, we're going to be bombing them by the time you're bombing in fucking Hermosa Beach. Holy shit. Can we jump right over to another shitbag? This is just the beginning from Rusty Trombone. Don't take my dad. Little girl pointing to guy with his the little girl's face you can see, but the grown man's face is digitized. So, I guess that makes sense because Rusty Trombone would rather see little girls. Yeah. Okay.
This is Gestapo-like behavior.
Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets.
With left-wing terror now on the rise.
Is it? It's on the rise, is it? Sorry, what the anti-Mormon dude driving into the front of the church the other day in the Trump shirt? That's the rise?
What is a terrorist? Whatever you need it to be.
Wow, that's so fucking profound. What is a terrorist? Whatever you need it to be. Yeah? Yeah? They don't even have to believe in anything.
Wing terror attacks, and maybe terror attacks of any description are pretty, well, by definition, terrible. Let's have a look at some of the data around terror attacks. Here it is. Left and right-wing US domestic terror attacks. Oh, wow, there's more. There's more of them? There are more left-wing ones? I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't understand the graph. I've never been good with graphs, baby. This study was shared by John Fetterman, the Democrat senator, isn't he? And it shows that left-wing terrorism has reached a 30-year high and criticised Democrats for using rhetoric such as Hitler and fascist and all that stuff. Let's have a look at that Fetterman post before discussing why is there a rise of terror on the left? Is this some sort of manipulation of figures?
Also, define left.
Or is it simply a presentation of facts? And who do you think are more violent, the left or the right? Here
how about body count?
It's unchecked.
Hold on. Axios. Study left-wing terrorism climbs to 30-year high. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Axios. Left-wing terrorism climbs to 30-year high. Always like to go to the source, yeah? Left-wing terrorism outpaces far-right attacks for the first time in 30 years. That would be this part right here. Well, let's see if there's any yeah buts on this one. Left and right wing domestic attacks. Okay, so left wing is yellow, right wing is gray. Boy, look at the rest of these. Boy, right wing's been through that. So the left wing part is still smaller than it's kind of ever been. Right wing's in power right now, so that might be why. My guess is that you got whatever at the beginning 2006 and 7 last years of the Bush administration. Then boy, there's a bunch of ratchets up. 2013 and 2018, a drop. Man, the 2020 they really brought it. This would be the yellow is left wing. This year still less than 2020, still less than a number of acts. Sorry, and this is, let's see what this, adapted from CSIS chart. Access video, open that link in a new tab. Halfway through 2025, attacks by far-left extremists outpaced far-right violence for the first time in more than 3 decades, according to why it matters. America's domestic terrorism landscape has undergone a remarkable inversion. Far-right violence has historically been more frequent, more lethal, but plunged dramatically over the first 6 months of 2025. Yeah, because they considered themselves to have won, and a lot of it's being done through policy, I guess. Despite the uptick in high-profile attacks like assassination of Charlie Kirk, political violence remains rare and overwhelmingly opposed by most Americans. CSIS researchers compiled and analyzed a data set of 750 domestic attacks and plots from January 1st, 1994 to July 4th, 2025, categorizing them as right, left, jihadist, ethno-nationalist, and other. Data showed that left-wing extremists have carried out 41 attacks since 2016, compared with 152 from the far right over the same period. Left-wing violence has killed 13 people over the past decade, far fewer than the 112 deaths from right-wing attacks and 82 from jihadists. But at least 5 left-wing plots or attacks have already been recorded this year compared to just 1 right-wing attack. Trump responded to Kirk assassination by designating them as worried about the Daniel Byman, the lead author of the CSIS study, warned Axios that the data should not be taken by the government as an excuse for a crackdown on legitimate organizations. Between lines, Trump analyzed the radicals, right, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's take a look at this left-wing terrorism and political violence in the United States, what the data tells us. The issue. In recent years, the United States has been increased number of left-wing introduction, tragic killings of political commentary. There you go. Definitions. This analysis defines terrorism. Let's go move this down here and blow this up, shall we? As the deliberate use of or threat of premeditated violence. Okay, or threat of. So lots of threats, I suppose. Does that be the thing? By premeditated violence by non-state actors with the intent to achieve political goals by creating a broad psychological impact. Using this definition, CSIS researchers compiled and analyzed a data set of 750 terrorist attacks from January 1994 to 2025. I'm going to guess, hold on. Real quick. Let's see. So I guess they're not. They did it from January 1st, 1994 to July 4th, 2025. Oklahoma City had like 168 deaths. Pulse nightclub, okay. Left-wing terrorism incidents. Incidents. Look out. Are on the rise. Policing is noticeable over the decade. 1994, there's jaggedy. Left-wing terrorist attacks and plots, because they're singular acts more than anything. Left-wing terrorist attacks and plots as a percentage of all attacks. Terrorist attacks and plots in the United States by right, left, jihadist, ethno-nationalist, other. I would argue that the ethno-nationalists and the right overlap more often than they do not, right? I don't know if are there white ethno-nationalists or, well, I guess we'll go with black ethno-nationalists, the black Hebrew Israelites that shot the 2 Jews in the Bronx or something like that. They would technically not, it's part of the group that was Blacks for Trump. That guy anyways, so we'll see. The standard for what these are, left versus right, and plots in the United States. This is since 2023, there were 14, And then left there have been 5, and on the right there have been 1. So political violence is down overall right now, according to this chart. There have been 6 terrorist attacks, or things defined as terror. Attacks and disrupted plots. That's also bigger. Disrupted plots versus attack among left-wing terrorist incidents. There have been 4 attacks and 1 thwarted. So there haven't been 5. There have been 4, and then 1 was allegedly thwarted. There were 2 thwarted. Biden did a better job thwarting than, I suppose, than Trump did. In this one, it's 2022. Okay, there you go. By contrast, jihadist incidents exhibit the opposite pattern. Disrupted plots are far more common than successful. That's because they're large events involving bombings and stuff, and most of the time they're talking about like shootings. What's causing the rise? Okay. Increase in left-wing incidents in the past decade is driven by plots and attacks directed at government and law enforcement targets. This would be Antifa firebombing buildings, by and large, and then the people like the Kirk shooter. The 41 left-wing incidents since 2016, anti-government extremism motivated 17, partisan extremism motivated the other 11. All left-wing attacks through July 4th, 2025 appear to be motivated by one of these ideologies, and the Kirk killing fits this pattern, although details about Kirk's alleged killer are still emerging. Partisan extremism includes attacks and plots against elected officials. So they're going to, what are they going to count fucking the 2 assassination attempts by disgruntled right-wingers? Let's see. Partisan extremism, let's see what they January 28th, 2025. U.S. Capitol Police arrested Riley English, 24-year-old from Massachusetts, on the National Mall. After she approached officers, real she was carrying a folding knife, 2 Molotov cocktails, and a lighter. According to prosecutors, English said she intended to kill senior U.S. officials, initially identifying Pete Hegseth, who she described as a Nazi, before shifting her focus to Mike Johnson, then to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. She also expressed a desire to attack the Conservative Heritage Foundation with a knife and 2 Molotov cocktails. Obviously, major threat. In separate incident on March 30th, an assailant set fire to the headquarters of the Republican Party in New Mexico in Albuquerque, igniting the entrance late at night. Graffiti reading ICE equals KKK was spray painted on the wall near the site. Did they bust the person? So we don't know if it was like a false flag. Attacks such as English's plot to assassinate senior officials in the arson of their reflects the most severe effects of polarization. Really? A variety of, you're just not gonna go to all the Democratic offices that were attacked during the election last year, and during the midterms and during 2020. Okay. By 2020, most Republicans described Democrats as immoral, dishonest, and unintelligent, while most Democrats said the same of Republicans. Similarly, less than 4% of Americans express support for partisan violence, such as assault. 4% agree with this, and that's the people who would be doing this shit. Left-wing weaknesses. Despite the rise in the number of left-wing terrorist incidents, there exist several characteristics and conditions that limit the scale and sophistication of the attacks. The overall low lethality rates in left-wing attacks are probably attributable to several factors, including target selection, target scope, tactical methods employed, low levels of perpetual skill, and counterterrorism measures. First, left-wing perpetrators typically select targets that limit opportunities for mass killing. They're so soy in their attacks. In the past decade, left-wing attacks most commonly occurred at government or law enforcement facilities. These locations are often protected by physical fortifications and security personnel, making it more difficult for perpetrators to kill targets during an attack. For example, July 2025 attack on ICE's Prairie Land Detention Facility. One police officer was wounded before additional law enforcement forced the attackers to flee. The attackers' choice of hardened federal compound with security personnel on the site contributed to the attack's failure to kill any victims. This contrasts with jihadist attacks, which commonly target large crowds. Second, left-wing violence is often narrowly directed at specific individuals rather than the indiscriminate killing of civilians. That's where the right wing really does have it nailed down, don't they? Just killing a bunch of people to make their point, shooting up the office of the FBI in Cincinnati because you don't like a lawfully obtained warrant in Florida. Most notably, 10 of the 13 victim fatalities from left-wing attacks in the past decade have been police officers ambushed in public areas by attackers using firearms. This pattern underscores 10 of the 13 victim fatalities from left-wing attacks. Again, what determines these people are left-wing? I gotta say, because I'll go with you that people who perceive themselves as Antifa or communists would be qualified, but anarchists are not. They might as well be libertarians. Let's see. Fourth, left-wing perpetrators often lack the weapons and tactical training to maximize their impact. For example, Quintez Brown, a 21-year-old black nationalist, entered the Louisville campaign office of Democratic mayoral candidate Craig Greenberg with a 9mm pistol. Prosecutors argued that Brown saw himself as an equalizer, striking at the symbol of gentrification and oppression. Sorry, so this left-wing attack was on a Democrat? Sorry, your example of one of the rises in left-wing violence is a guy shooting up a Democrat's office? Fifth, unlike many foreign terrorist organizations with centralized leadership, funding, and training, left-wing terrorists, like most terrorist actors in the United States, operate as loosely affiliated networks or as lone individuals, limiting their ability to train and plan, blah, blah, blah. Why have jihadists and right-wing incidents fallen? Explaining non-events, such as why attacks from rival ideological groups and individuals have fallen, is always difficult. For jihadists, the main terrorist group in recent years, Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State, are far weaker than they were. Sudden decline in right-wing terrorism is both striking and harder to explain. From 1994 to 2000, there was an average of 21 right-wing attacks or plots each year. In the following decade, right-wing incidents fell to an average of 7 annually from 2011 to 2024. Also, I guess you guys are counting some of these left-wingers as right. Aggressive law enforcement efforts under former President Biden hurt the right-wing extremist movement. While the January 6th investigation is particularly causing disarray, the government brought charges against 1,000 individuals. Trump's election appears to have changed the threat, although it is impossible to definitely prove the link between the policies of and positions championed in Trump's second term and the decline in right-wing terrorism, because it's just moved inside the House, I think. Is that the idea? Most notably, the administration has aggressively targeted immigrants with high-profile efforts to identify, detain, and deport them. Anti-immigrant sentiment is one of the most important violent extremist motivations in recent years. So basically, give the white supremacists what they want, and they won't attack anywhere.
Extreme rhetoric, like labels as Hitler or fascist, will foment more extreme outcomes. Political violence is always wrong.
No, it didn't. There's 6 incidents, 4 carried out, 1 planned, and that's fewer than there were a couple of years ago. It's just in comparison to the volume of right-wing violence, because now you can just get a job as an ICE agent and punt a fucking supporter or a reporter who's just trying to take pictures.
No exceptions. We must all turn the temperature down. Excellent bit of online rhetoric from John Fetterman. How infrequently we see anyone genuinely attempting not to score points, but to create better outcomes for everyone.
Fuck you. Speak for yourself. What? And by the way, feel free right after this to just jump into saying they tried to kill Charlie Kirk and them again. Just use broad fucking plural pronouns for a shooter to lay that like mysterious level of guilt across an entire swath of people.
Regardless of their political position. Surely we should all be applauding that. Let me know in the comments and chat if you agree. Let's have a look at the kind of...
Is he on an IV right now?
...rhetoric that leads perhaps to the rise of terror.
Every single...
He's on an IV right now. I'm assuming it might be intramuscular, or could be just subcutaneous.
And chat if you agree. Let's have a look at the kind of rhetoric...
But as he gestures, it's moving.
...that leads perhaps to the rise of terror.
Every single ICE agent who's engaged in this aggressive overreach, no matter what it takes, no matter how long it takes, will of course be identified. This is not the 1930s.
Secret police who are masked, who are intimidating.
You think the music is really necessary? Is that what... So you got the jump cuts and stuff, and we're supposed to assume that there was no language softening in between. You're just trying to tighten this up to make it look like all they do is call people Nazis, and there's a direct line between calling somebody a Nazi and somebody shooting somebody else.
Who are scaring people. These Gestapo-like tactics.
This is Gestapo-like behavior.
Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets.
When you compare the old films of the Gestapo grabbing grabbing people off the streets of Poland. It does look like a Gestapo operation.
You posted on social media that, quote, ICE is acting like a terrorist force. ICE agents.
Yeah, this is the use of an analogy, not ICE are Gestapo. Trump's Gestapo is snatching people off their, like, the like part is a statement of like, hey, it looks like we're going in that direction. That's not good. It's very different than go, you know, wait, hold on. Was it G. Gordon Liddy? Yeah, there was a quote from let's see, about yeah. Let's see. One of those reasons. And what happens when the brutal? Yeah, here you go. Yeah. Dressed to kill. Federal agents' militaristic uniforms enter the fray. A new villain has emerged. The time for the Middle East terrorist or even a human being know the fiend of the hour is a uniform. We're talking about, said radio person G. Gordon Liddy on one of his recent shows, is what happened when the brutal thugs of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms in their wannabe ninja suits went to serve the warrant against the fundamentalist Christians down there in Waco. Jackbooted government thugs, federal agents wearing Nazi bucket helmets and black stormtrooper uniforms to attack law-abiding citizens. I think this is also the you know, on his show where he suggested shooting them in the dome. Sorry, one second.
They are coming and kidnapping and disappearing people on the streets of the United States.
But this terror campaign of having masked people rolling up in vans, but we also have to talk about the agents themselves that are carrying this out. If you have any decency, quit now. Because just doing what you were told has been the justification for some of the worst horrors and crimes against humanity.
In century rhetoric, there's no doubt about it. Let's have a look at this from The Independent. For the first time in decades, the landscape of domestic terrorism in the US has shifted, with incidents linked to far-left extremists now outpacing those attributed to...
Oh my fucking God. 5! Country of 340 million people. 5. The reason why they're outpacing the terror from the right is because the president is getting to implement the terrorist tactics that the right has been screaming for. Namely, masked people snatching people off the fucking street. Harassing immigrants. I mean, he's literally putting these assholes out of a job. And even still, 5. 4 of them were, quote, left-wing. And again, debatable. Certainly not Democrat voters. And then 1 has been a right-wing activist. I don't even know what they're qualifying it as. And again, this standard for how long? Up till when? January? When did they stop? I gotta look at this again. Definitions. Yeah, they stopped at July 4th. Because that would fuck up the entire thing. Let's see. Right-wing violence, U.S. 2025 incidents. I just want to see the number of them. Or what they actually call it. Let's see. Violence is rising overall. Patterns, yada yada. Hard to count. There's another reason hard to count for characterized for U.S. focus on prosecuting criminal acts rather than formally designating organizations terrorists, relying on existing statutes such as conspiracy, weapons violations, RICO provisions, etc. Rhetoric is an event. Yeah, I'm trying to find, like, let's see. Let's see what we go with. The heck? I'm gonna look this up. Well, let's see what they say, and then I'll look it up.
Far-right extremists. The assassination of Charlie Kirk has thrown a spotlight on America's political violence problem, with commentators on both sides accusing the other of turning up the dial. New research from the Center for Strategic and International Studies warns that a stark imbalance has emerged in the last decade, with domestic terror incidents perpetrated by those linked to the left now on course to exceed any level seen in the previous 30 years.
Yeah, but by contrast, again, to the number committed by the right who are currently in power, which is when it always dips. And again, 5.
Meanwhile, right-wing violence has sharply declined.
Oh, has it? No, it's just gone indoors.
Researchers said their analysis revealed that indeed left-wing violence has risen in the last 10 years, particularly since Donald Trump's rise to political prominence in 2016. The research team examined 750 domestic terror incidents in the US between 94 and 25. The studies used the following data.
Yeah, and they didn't count Oklahoma City, which was in 95. For real, like 168 people died. They're not going to put that I think that qualifies. Chat room, do you think that Oklahoma City qualifies? Or is that just a single blip? Meanwhile, this lady with 2 Molotov cocktails and a buck knife showing up saying she wants to kill Scott Bassett and talking to park rangers. That's basically, it's a coin flip, isn't it? 1-to-1. One guy parks a truck in front of a federal building, kills a bunch of toddlers in preschool on the first floor. And 168 people total, and a lady with a fucking shopping bag with a knife and 2 Molotov cocktails in it who thinks she's going to bring down the government by herself. That's basically the same, yeah?
Definition of terrorism: the deliberate use or threat of premeditated
we
impact.
read that
Down the rhetoric. I had a great conversation with Frank Turek, the pastor who was present with Charlie Kirk at his assassination, and I really tried my best to have an open conversation with him about the exploitation by the left and right of Charlie Kirk's death. What I think anyone can agree.
The exploitation of his death.
Agree on is that the solutions that we must reach now are spiritual, because spirituality indicates a set of values that are transcendent of political categories that seem to lead to divisiveness, whereas spirituality, as opposed to...
Yeah, that's true. Because spirituality has never led to any divisiveness. I mean, ever since and now that we've got eternal peace in the Middle East, I think you can... Fuck, this is lazy. All right. At this point, like, I'm going to get near the end of it, and I wanted to watch a little bit of this before I run out of time. I don't know what he's talking about when he says people are exploiting Charlie Kirk's death for their own purposes and that spiritualism will solve it all. When Roseanne Barr has Jonathan Conover, the end times prophet, who I have to say is an odd looking fellow. And I guess, Roseanne's wearing her high priestess outfit. I hope her son is still operating the cameras. And I don't know what this is. This Ruth and I don't know what the fuck. Blood, curses, and Jezebel. What really happened to Charlie Kirk?
I wanted to talk to you about Charlie Kirk, too.
Yeah.
Is that prophesized?
Well,
he's got a whole bunch of
Well, it would have to be,
info.
wouldn't it?
And this is and this will also even link up with Trump's assassination attempt, because it's all together.
that.
The thing,
Yeah, they're all tied together, of course. I mean, they're basically the same guy, just wearing a different mask. It's demons.
is that, first of all, we are this totally links up with the Avatar. In fact,
Sure, of course. Yeah, it has to. What?
just 24 hours before the assassination, I was led to post something, on YouTube, where I'm talking about demonic shootings and demonic assassinations.
Is this before?
This is 24 hours before it happened. I'm led to put that up. And the thing...
You were led to put that up? Mm-hmm.
Is, number one...
Because Routh's fucking court case was coming up?
This was demonic. Because, see, and this is very much what the...
As opposed to what? For real. The shooting of the Cincinnati FBI office wasn't? The fucking neo-Nazi kid who shot 2 other people the same day as the Charlie Kirk... That wasn't demonic. That was that was just angels working in mysterious ways.
Or is the evidence?
No, but wait.
Yeah.
Taking it back a little, because we were talking about the witchcraft thing, the
Yeah, get back to that.
Jezebel thing.
Yes.
That, obviously, Hillary and Kamala, all that stuff is
Interesting.
It is all about witchcraft, and
I see. Yes, that's true. Because they are women. That's the thing. That's why you can't have women in charge of stuff. It's all witches. These witches.
I was on the left, so I know that. And I
Sure. Yeah. Well, sorry. Are you the one that introduced them to the coven?
always say it's the entire left is run by lesbian witches.
Well, don't threaten me with a good time.
I don't know if they're all lesbians,
Well, yeah. I mean, but say it. Go ahead.
but their philosophy is very anti-male, and so I just call them lesbian. And a lot of them are lesbians, but their philosophy is way whack, and they do, believe in the supremacy of women.
Which is, clearly evil. I don't know why I even thought, chat room, what would make me think that this wasn't going to make sense? Like, I gotta say, it's starting to land. I think I buy it.
Moving energy to curse people.
Yeah.
And they do draw blood. A lot of them do. But
Yeah, when they slip and fall, I guess.
I never did, but I always heard.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you didn't do it. I mean, you were as rich and as influential as anybody can get in the industry at one point or whatever. But you got there organically. Everybody else did it through evil spirits and witchcraft. You managed to slip through. I don't know how that happened, but good on you. Everybody else cheated to the front of the line by sacrificing babies and eating, drinking blood and all that kind of stuff. But you just simply built an act and sold a show. It's funny. I guess they have to let a couple of them through just to keep the illusion.
I didn't join their clubs, but heard. So
You heard, or was the club called Heard?
anyway,
Yeah.
24 hours before, but somebody was saying after Charlie was assassinated, that one billionaire had paid all these witches on Etsy to put a curse on Charlie.
Well,
On Etsy? Sorry, a billionaire had to go to Etsy? Don't billionaires have like Wiccan covens on fucking speed dial? Wait a minute. So, sorry, did they crowdsource their Eyes Wide Shut parties? I figured they'd have a Rolodex of evil people, but you're telling me they got to put an ad on Craigslist or something? Etsy.
You're going to tie all this in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, please tie it all in, because we have so many questions. Chat room, please keep your questions handy. I'm sure we've all got a lot of gaps in our understanding of this or whatever. And of course, I'll be sharing with you a couple of different Etsy accounts if you want to buy some spells afterwards. I don't do any personally, but I'm sure there are a couple of good ones we can look up.
Yeah, well, first...
They were called Jezebel, by the way. I don't know if you knew that.
Yes,
Jezebel,
yes.
That was their website.
Yeah. First...
Well, that should have been your first clue.
First is that...
It's like fucking Lilith Fair, man. Adam's first wife, who was a little yappity.
It's like this. One of the things that the Avatar's bringing out is that there's such a spiritual war for the future.
By the way, Jezebel should not be confused with the site that Mike Johnson goes to all the time. That's called Jizabro, and that's different. It's just different. It's not. A lot of people, the spelling is seemingly very close, but it isn't.
America.
I'm sorry, viewer, if your porn app just went off.
It's gotten so intense that it actually is shedding the blood of a key person, in this spiritual war.
Yes.
And so that's what we're dealing with the future of America. We got to
So a random person won't help? Oh, good.
Also, it was like a little before that, you had a demonic shooting in Minnesota.
Right.
And it was again.
A little before that?
It's like a...
Sorry. Are there any shootings that aren't demonic? Or are they only demonic when the target is somebody you like? If they're a bunch of kids, then I guess we just shrug it off. Is that the idea?
Against,
that's just angels working in mysterious ways, right?
Church, or against people praying, what is
Or
this?
children.
Children. That's demonic. And in fact, the guy in Minnesota actually drew a picture of a demon telling him to do it. I mean, totally demonic. Remember Nashville? Same thing. And there's the gender issue.
Nashville? Which Nashville? The dude who played Patsy Cline and blew up his truck in front of the AT&T building?
This whole thing. So here Charlie Kirk is being asked about it at that very moment, asked about this shooting and about particularly this demonic shooting in Minnesota, and then demonic shooting comes to him, and there's all these issues. So that's the first thing, is we're dealing with a spiritual thing. Second, as you just said,
no, I don't think it was a spiritual bullet that hit him. I think it was an earthly piece of lead. How about we handle that part and we'll argue the spiritual part later?
Yes, it's true, and it's not conspiracy theory.
I agree. It's not conspiracy theory. It's fucking gibberish.
There was a woman who paid witches more than about 3, I think. I mean, at least
about 3. Did they all share the same eyeball?
2 or 3 to place a curse on Charlie Kirk.
So that's all you need, 2 or 3? I don't know why a coven has that many then. It's just redundancy, isn't it? It's like witches in triplicate.
And it just came out. It was just, she published this on September 8th. 2 days later, it happened. Yeah. And the thing is that one of the witches took a photo of Charlie Kirk and burned it. I mean, this is, Now listen, God's in charge, not the witches, but we do know.
But, and it is a big but.
There are actors and forces, and so.
Sure, yeah. Signs and wonders, Rennie and Stimpy.
This is what that's about.
It's a war.
Yeah, it is.
It is. It's totally a war. That's what God intended. Thanks for bringing that up. Absolutely. God just gets really, he gets bored easily.
War and for instance,
By the way, the fact that she has fucking Lenny Bruce albums all over like her mantles is such stolen comedic valor.
The place where this all happened, it was in Orem, Utah. You know what Orem means? Means the dragon.
Jeez.
So, the dragon, which is a different mythology entirely. Whatever. What's the suburb called? Like Skeksis-burg?
I didn't know that.
And also means it's a double thing. It means the dragon and the serpent, and there's only one who's called both. It's in Revelation in the Bible is the enemy, and of course, and then Charlie Kirk. Think about that. What does his name mean? It means church. So it's a war against the church or the
Kirk. Is that what we're doing? Kirk. Church.
People of God.
Sorry, so Captain Church is, bless you all.
And so the dragon, he came to the land of the dragon struck him, but of course he doesn't win, and God's going to use it for good. God's going to use it for the good. But so there's a whole big thing.
Yeah, so don't worry about it. I mean, don't even try to stop it, really. I mean, you're just getting in the way of God, all of God's good. Yeah, don't try to stop shootings, I guess, is the message that Roseanne wants you guys to hear more than anything else.
Yes, the other thing is, you said it, the organization that the woman who placed the curse on him, or had the witches, was working for Jezebel.
Yeah. Oh my God.
An organization, Jezebel,
come on, little on the nose, people.
Of all things, and in the Bible, and we were saying this before, and it's interesting, it's because Jezebel rises up in the Bible when then linked to the nation turning away from God. So if we turn away from God, we're going to have this spirit.
You create a vacuum, something rushes in to fill the space.
Exactly.
That's right. God abhors a vacuum.
Liberals.
Earth, nature, space. In religion, no one can hear you scream. I always get them mixed up.
Exactly. There's a parable, that Jesus told, that he said that a man is possessed, he gets delivered, and then he stays
in one of those Amazon brown boxes, or
empty. It's a vacuum. It stays empty. So it says the Spirit comes back and brings 7 others. And so the worse, he ends up being worse. And people think, okay, that's about a guy. Well, it's not about a guy. It's about an entire civilization, because he says it's with this generation.
Oh, I think you skipped some details, but okay.
What happened is when...
It's like, so don't exorcise an evil spirit out of someone because 7 more will come in to fill the space. So best to leave them evil.
When Jesus or Yeshua, when he spread forth the gospel, what it did is it drove out the gods, drove out the spirits. So it was like an exorcism that happened to the West. But the warning is, any nation or civilization or culture, if it once knew God and empties itself of God, what was cast out is going to come back in.
Right.
And so what we've been watching since like the 60s onward, we drove out God, and we've been watching not just...
No, we didn't. Churches stopped projecting the scriptures and the beliefs of God and went into sales. I don't drive this car, but it's perfect for you. Let me sell it to you. That's what evangelicals are. That's where God gets kicked to the curb. If your church was any damn good, you wouldn't have to teach God in schools. They get it. You would, like, the idea that you have to even put it in schools, or the theory that you have to put it in the nation, proves that it cannot be taught well by the churches that you have, and that maybe they're the fucking problem.
Like a general thing. This is one of the things...
Yeah, it's just generic. Yeah.
Of the Avatar. It's not just a general kind of the gods. We can actually identify them because they're in the Bible.
Yeah.
For instance, you got Baal. When Israel turned away from God, you had Baal. So this is the spirit that drives God out of everything and
how can it?
Replaces it with pagan.
I gotta tell you something. Like, it sounds like the devil would say something like this, that you can. It's sort of absurd that if God created and is in and of all things, that you could ever be separate from God. You'd just be reflecting God back to itself. And so everything bad you did would be just a possible variant that God would want to see itself do. Right?
And his sign was the bull, which we talked about, that brazen bull in Wall Street, But and actually, you know what it is with paganism? With paganism,
I don't know, but this all sounds like bull to me.
It's with polytheism, with
church in Ireland is called a kirk. Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Well, you have one God, you got one truth. You got truth. But when you have many gods, you don't have one truth. Everybody has their own truth. It's my.
No, that's not. Yeah, that's not how that works at all. In all the hierarchical, especially the pagan gods, there is a prime god, and then there are spirits that represent different characteristics of human that you can resonate with, like a tuning fork in the particular key that you want to be. A great warrior, a great scholar, a great mother, a great son, those kind of things. You resonate with one of those things to bring out those best traits in you, in the same way that the Catholic Church absorbed those things as saints, for example. The existence of saints doesn't negate the existence of God or a primary truth.
Personal truth.
So fucking lazy. This is like a deity as monarchy.
If a woman says I'm a cat, that's her personal truth.
Yeah.
So, but then when Baal comes in, it's a dark trinity I write about in the book, and
I'm sure it's fascinating. Do you have it in like a little 45 record and a film strip? I think I would enjoy it much better if it went boom, so I know when to turn to the next image.
There's a dark. The second one is a goddess named Ishtar, and in the Bible she's called Ashtoreth. And the thing about Ishtar, what is she? She's the goddess of sexual immorality, and she's a prostitute goddess. And so what happens?
Oh, you mean like Jesus, the women that Jesus hung out with?
She sexualizes the culture. So children sexualizes children, and actually, you know what? The word for
it's where Easter comes from. It's the festival of Ishtar.
Her in Greek, when the Greeks worshipped her, they called her porne.
Jeez.
Pornography comes from this goddess. Wow. And so and here's the.
Well, it's a round of applause for her then, I suppose. Because I got to tell you, there's a lot of men out there who would have done a lot more awful if they hadn't rubbed one out and taken a nap.
The thing get maybe a little bit more explosive. That is that this goddess in her ancient inscriptions, she said, it says, "I am a woman, I am a man."
Yeah.
And so it's the goddess who merges male and female,
Yeah.
boy and girl, and one of her signs was the rainbow.
Wow.
And the month that she especially possessed the culture was the month of June, or Pride Month. Ancient times, all back. The third of the Dark Trinity.
Yeah, she's also the goddess of war. She's also like a fertility goddess. So if you're trying to get pregnant, you'd pray to her because she represents all the features of sexuality and that kind of stuff. Basically, like an emblem version of Viagra.
Is Moloch, which is offer up your children. And that's what happened. So all these things have happened. And when you're looking, by the way.
Also gibberish. Hold on. Let's see. The disambiguation. Inanna, Inanna, Ishtar, the goddess of love in Sumerian mythology. Yeah, she's a Mesopotamian god from the Semitic. Astarte, Inanna, an important goddess in the Sumerian pantheon, came to be identified with Ishtar, but it is uncertain whether Inanna is also a Semitic origin or whether it's most likely a similarity to Ishtar that caused them to be dually identified. In the figure of sometimes she's sometimes the daughter of the sky god An, sometimes his wife, because people's buildings tended to fall apart back then. In other myths, she's the daughter of Nana, the god of the moon, or the wind god. And again, these are tribes who fucking chipped little statues. She's the goddess of rain and thunderstorms, which is, April rain, April showers, probably making that fold into it. Okay, she was often pictured with a lion, because you know what I'm saying. The power attributed to her in war may have arisen from her connection with storms. She was a fertility figure, the goddess of the storehouse where the grain was kept. So she would guard the grain. She was, primary legacy was the role of fertility. She evolved, however, into a more complex character, surrounded by death and disaster, goddess of contradictory connotations, fire and fire quenching, rejoicing and tears, fair play and enmity. The Akkadian Ishtar is also, to a great extent, an astral deity associated with Venus, Shamash, the sun god. Like, fuck, man. You can make these things mean anything.
Jezebel worshipped the goddess Ishtar. So it's a connection all over the place. You got Hillary, you got Kamala, and you have the spirit of this, and you got an organization. But you know what Jezebel did? Jezebel hunted down righteous people to kill them. She tried to kill Elijah, whoever was standing for God,
let's see. Jezebel was a Phoenician princess in the 9th century BCE, while Ishtar was a Mesopotamian goddess worshipped for millennia before Jezebel's lifetime. There is no historical or biblical evidence that Jezebel was the goddess Ishtar or relation to her. The connection is rooted in Jezebel's promotion of polytheistic practices similar to the worship of Ishtar and her infamous biblical reputation. She was Ahab's wife. According to the Hebrew Bible in 1 Kings, she was the daughter of King Ethbal of Tyre and married King Ahab of Israel. I'm sure everybody keeping notes. She worshipped Baal and Asherah, the queen of Israel. Jezebel promoted the worship of Phoenician gods, Baal and Asherah. She maintained hundreds of prophets for these deities and persecuted the prophets of the Hebrew God, Yahweh. Archetype of the wicked woman, her actions, including the murder of Naboth to seize his vineyard, solidified her image as corrupt and manipulative, who interfered with the worship of Yahweh. She was eventually killed at the command of Jehu, the new king, and her body was eaten by dogs. He seems nice. Fulfilling a prophecy by the prophet Elijah. She was the goddess of love and war. A lot of dual nature. That's why the male and female. That's why they think, because back then you couldn't fight war if you were a woman. And Esther cast out Ishtar on the national. Okay, whatever the fuck. This dude, Jonathan Cain talks about her a lot.
Like Charlie Kirk, standing for God, she's got to kill them. And so it's amazing that it was actually someone named Jezebel. And the other thing, people say, well, what it happened? Like, why did God allow? Well, think about this, too. Because Trump also had witches placing curses against him.
Right, to make him what? Dumber?
Or to Right, shoot him. I mean-
apparently spells work is what you're saying.
Continuously.
This is like an ad for Etsy's witches.
And you know what? And you know what happened recently?
Boy, do I.
Is when they tried to, when he was coming back, and their stories came out that the witches were saying our spells aren't working against him.
Yeah.
They said he's got some shield around him,
He does.
and we believe it's the prayers of Christians, the prayers of God's people. So now they tried to
Did they?
assassinate him too.
Wait,
Okay.
hold on, wait. So they came out, a bunch of witches came out and went, damn, we keep trying to cast spells on Trump and everything's going perfectly. What kind of a jackass even asserts this?
As we all know.
A lot of times.
Yes, and it was and we all know it was a miracle. That was a fraction of an inch, fraction of a moment. But there's a whole mystery from the Torah.
Yeah, apparently God needed to, or the witch missed and killed a fireman, and you're down with that? God works in mysterious ways, obviously.
In this, and
yes, because the Trump's followers needed to see him forget Cory Comparator's name.
Add it to that assassination.
Oh boy, what's that?
Okay, what happens is, in order for somebody to be anointed to serve God's purposes, there's a special anointing or ritual or consecration.
Oh pointy birds, oh pointy pointy, anoint my head, anointy.
In the Torah, the priests of Israel, they had to go through a certain thing in order to be anointed to or marked to serve God. It involved blood, and the blood.
Okay, this sounds pretty fucking Jezebel to me.
According to the mystery in the Torah,
has to come from a baby's dick.
Had to touch the ear of the one being anointed. It had to touch the ear. It has to touch the right ear, so it touches his right ear.
Okay, so this was crafted to make dipshits like you think. So it was a farce, and he wasn't really shot at, and this is all just to play out some sort of prophecy so that the end times could roll around. Roseanne's giving him a look I think we're all wanting to give him.
I never heard this one.
Yeah.
Never read
it has to touch the right ear.
Also, what the fuck? Hold on. Anointed right ear. What? Ritual of applying blood to a new priest's right ear, thumb, and big toe, as described in the book of Leviticus, mentioned, symbolize the total dedication of one's life. The right ear, the thumb, and the big toe. So did he stub his toe when he fell down and jam his thumb? Because listening to God with the right ear, because the left ear is sinister. Total service with the thumb. Boink. Moon River. And purity because of the right big toe. Hold on. This is just goofy.
It has to touch the tip of the right ear. That's why that happened. Then it has to touch the hand. First thing that Trump does is he raises his hand to touch the blood. It has to touch the right hand, so it was the right hand. Has to touch the right thumb. If the first thing goes up, it's the thumb with the blood. Then
Good Lord. How to get the toe? Is this the whole get my shoes?
Anointing centers on the feet. Okay, now for this to happen, the shoes of the man being anointed have to be removed, or you cannot have the anointing. The anointing, he has to have his shoes removed.
So, sorry. All right, sorry. So Trump is a rabbi now.
Well, of course, he's pushed down. He's pushed down to the ground. He's going, where are my shoes? His shoes are removed, and he's going on the blood. By the way, that's where the blood was dripping. And there's so much to this. I can't go through all the details, but let me.
No, I don't need the details. I like the scattered parts of it. It makes it sound just crazy enough.
Tell you one other
his book, everybody.
Well, it is in the book, in the Avatar, but
no shit.
But here's the thing. From the moment, the day that the blood touches the ear of the man, it's a 7-day ritual or consecration. 7 days. On the 7th day, the man whose the blood has been touched is invested to go and serve in the office, serve God. Okay. Now, what happens if you count from the day that it touched his ear, Hebrew days. Now, Hebrew days, as we all know, begins at sundown. Okay.
Yeah.
So, the first day was that Saturday.
Oh, boy.
The second day begins at sundown to sundown, second day. Count the sundowns. The seventh day begins Thursday night. Thursday night, July 18th. Anything happen? Thursday night, July 18th, Trump is standing before the world, and he receives the nomination to become the president of the United States. Wow. On the seventh
Is that
day.
what happened? Oh, you're right.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, you see? Holy shit. Is that what happened? It's almost like they fabricated the whole thing to appeal to a bunch of lunatics. So Trump it wasn't an assassination attempt. So first of all, I don't know why any maggot can be mad at the Secret Service, because this had to happen because it was part of God's plan. And Cory Comparator's family and everybody else has just got to suck it up, I guess, because Trump had to be anointed via a chunk of glass from his teleprompter, because, he's anointed the high priest of bullshitting people. And so it knocks his fucking shoes off and he gets anointed, anointy, and then gets, becomes the nominee, which he was going to be anyways, with a big fucking diaper on his ear. And now he's a rabbi. Hold on. I've got to see. Okay. Judaism, ears, thumbs, and toes, my Jewish learning. Ears, thumbs, and toes, American Jew. Leviticus 8:22 through 29. It's ram's blood. Not your own blood, I guess. Let's see. God told Moses, put ram's blood on the right ear, right thumb, and the right big toe of Aaron and his sons to consecrate him for the work of the priesthood. Okay. So, let's see, Leviticus 8:22, 29. Hold on. We'll look that up real quick. Here you go. Then, all right, here we go. This is, we shall read, blessed are ye, and shall blah, 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 upon the great blah, blah, blah. We shall blah, 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 upon this very day, henceforth we shall blah, blah, blah. All right. And, amen. Leviticus 8:22 through 29. Then he presented the other ram, the ram Alama Ding Dong, the ram of ordination. And Aaron and his sons laid their hands on the head of the ram, and he killed it. All right. So the ram wasn't the ordination ram any longer. Or it didn't start becoming the ram of ordination until it was killed? All right. And he killed it. And Moses took some of its blood and put it on the lobe of Aaron's right ear. Oh. He said the top. Didn't bullshit artists say up near the top? Hold on. I got over that. Hold on. This is bullshit. Hold on. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah.
Has to touch the right thumb.
Hold on.
Touch the ear. It has to touch the right ear, so it touches his right ear.
Wow. I never heard this one.
Yeah.
Never read
it has to touch the right ear. It has to touch the tip of the right ear. That's
No, it does not. No, it doesn't. The lobe is down here. The lobe is the bottom part. That's the lobe. It says lobe. There you go. I'm just saying, put it on the lobe of Aaron's right ear. That'd be the lobe would be the bottom part, not the top part of the ear. Unless, obviously the biblical lobe is the top of the ear, and henceforth the Lord said that, and he laid a blessing on the house of Aaron Don, and everybody's ears turned upside down 1,000 years ago.
Why that happened? Then
and then on the thumb of his right hand and the big toe of his right foot. Then he presented Aaron's sons, and Moses put some of the blood on the lobes of their right ears and the thumbs of their right hands and the big toes of the right foot. And Moses threw the blood against the sides of the altar. Then he took the fat and the fat tail and all the fat that was on the entrails and the long lobes of liver and the 2 kidneys and their fat and the right thigh. We missed this part. And out of the basket of unleavened bread that was before the Lord, he took 1 unleavened loaf and 1 leavened... Oh, and he made sandwiches. and 1 loaf of bread with oil and 1 wafer, and placed them on the pieces of fat and on the right thigh. And he put all these in the hands of Aaron and in the hands of his sons, and waved them as a wave offering the Lord. Wait, so they took the ram's guts and liver and kidneys and some bread and just waved it around with blood on the right side of their body for God, and that's what made you a priest. And fuck me. And then he put all these hands in Aaron, and then Moses took them from their hands and burned them on the altar with a burnt offering and a little bit of spices and some Nashville hot sauce. This was an ordination offering with a pleasing aroma and a food offering to the Lord. And Moses took the breast and waved it for a wave offering to the Lord. It was Moses' portion of the ram of ordination, and the Lord commanded Moses to nosh upon the great on the ram, and therefore they did have the greasy nom noms. So I guess we're just gonna throw out the whole like blood sacrifice ram representing a human being part of it, and just assume that paganism is way more gross. Also, I would like to say on our way out the door, because I'm obviously late, that I don't know if you guys are familiar, but all over Etsy, apparently there are all kinds of witches witching. Let me manifest for you. She'll do cards of it, custom spells, 6-month predictions, find your soulmate. I had no idea. Runes. Lovely. Ding. Moonwater jar for collecting moonwater. Whatever, that sounds painful. Blind psychic readings, soulmate drawing tarot, manifestations, messages from deceased loved ones, if you want that. A magic pendant, a bag that says witch on it, or says witchy on it, just in time for Halloween. Black cat and phases of the moon. Apothecary shirt. Black obsidian mirrors. Messages from, okay, we already saw that one. Rich bitch oil, so you can put a spell on yourself, become a rich bitch. Witch hats, lovely handmade. Baby witch starter kits, if you want to start being a witch on your own. Dragon's blood candles. I have some dragon's blood body wash, I think, that somebody gave me. Is it here? Hold on, let me check. Nope. No. Apparently I used it all up. I'm fresh out. But yeah, so if I guess it's good to learn something on the regular, and now we know that you can go to Etsy for all your premium witchcraft needs, and also you can see the kind of stuff that I try to buy on here all the time, which is like cosplay clothing or rock clothing that's handmade. They have a lot of Warren Star stuff on here. None of it has had a spell cast on it, insofar as I know. Real Witches Heal. I wouldn't doubt that. Sure. How did it smell? It smells very nice. There's a place called Object Art and Spirit in LA that sells kind of like spiritual charms and stuff like that, and they have bath salts for stuff and body wash, and so I got that as a gift from that place. Yeah, that kind of thing. So, anyways, I often think that this is like that witchcrafts are basically like cheat codes for the material universe. Like if you found out you could hack the universe like a program from the inside, that's effectively what it is, isn't it? Right? The program's going one direction, you want it to go in another direction, so you try to hack the source code, hence sorcerer. Huh? And then maybe you get in trouble with the big programmer in the sky who doesn't want you to circumvent the programming, right? That would be the argument. Stick to the program. Or maybe they let you get away with it occasionally. And maybe that's what prayer is for some people. It's just a way of like trying to reprogram your future. Yeah. Is it Tron reference? That's right. You're a druid? Well, be nice to me. All right, I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you guys so much. Let's see. YouTube is now to auto-raid Brian. Excellent. Standing by on Twitch to go manually. Oh, nice. Okay, yeah, go for it. Let me get us out of here so you guys can go say hi to Boston Brian. Send him my love, sparklers. Treat him well. These days are full of curiosities. I'm gonna put a spell on you guys, make you like me even more, make you subscribe. Count on it.
The screen glows bright with a crooked smile. Words spill out. All venom, no style. Promises made, they rot in the air. A handshake, a lie, a blank, cold stare.